Hey, this is a shout out to all you bass fishermen out there. R.J. Decker is coming to TV. Never heard of him? Well, if you're a bass fisherman, especially if you've ever fished bass tournaments and you've never read Double Whammy by Carl Hiaasen, you've been missing one of the funniest, sharpest, most outrageous fishing stories ever put on a piece of paper and in a book. This is the book right here, Double Whammy. I got this book so many years ago I can't even remember. This book is one of my prized possessions because it's actually signed by Carl. But it's an incredible story. I mean, incredible. But now the main character, R.J. Decker, is headed to television on ABC and HULU. As a matter of fact, it's supposed to be on TV tonight. I'm not sure what time. This is March 3rd, Tuesday. Had to think about that a minute. But for those of you that don't know, R.J. Decker is a trailer park dwelling rookie private eye who finds himself knee deep in corruption, greed, and murder, all wrapped around the high stakes world of Florida largemouth bass tournaments. And if you've ever stood at a weigh-in and thought, something about this doesn't smell right, well, this book's for you. The back cover says it all. R.J. Decker, star tenant of the local trailer park and neophyte private eye, is fishing for a killer. There's a body floating in Coon Bay down in Florida, and a lot of that's rotting in the murky waters of the big stakes largemouth bass tournaments. He teams up with a half-blind, half-mad hermit who snacks on roadkill. He dares to kiss his ex-wife while she's in bed with her new husband. And he tangles with TV evangelists, seductive femme fatales, and a pistol-toting redneck with a pit bull attached to his arm. And somewhere in all that madness, there's a murder to solve. The New York Times praised this show for following a news photographer turned private eye, chasing truth, justice, and maybe his ex-wife. The Washington Post called it a murder sizzler and placed Hiaasen alongside the caper masters like Ross Thompson and Donald Westlake. And they were right. I also have a personal memory. A good friend handed me that book back in the early 1900s. Geez, that's been over 30 years ago. He thought I might enjoy it. He wasn't a fisherman himself, but he knew I fished bass tournaments. So he gave me a copy. I set it aside and eventually got around to reading it. And then I read it again, and then I read it again. It's one of those rare books that actually gets funnier the second and the third time, because you start noticing the little jabs, the subtle digs at tournament culture, sponsorships, media hype, and the whole circus that can surround competitive bass fishing. Years later, my daughter-in-law, Cindy, told me about a book signing in Jupiter, Florida, with Carl Hiaasen. I didn't hesitate. I gathered up every Hiaasen book I owned at the time and split them up between my wife, my son, Chris, Cindy, and my 3 grandchildren. We were the first people in line that morning, and Carl signed every one of them. He even took a picture with me and Chris. He seemed like a really great guy. For a lifelong reader and a bass fisherman, that was a moment to remember. But folks, here's why this story matters to anglers and to bass fishermen. Double Whammy isn't just funny. It understands bass fishing. It understands ego. It understands sponsorships. It understands the sometimes blurry line between competition and obsession. and it absolutely nails Florida. If the new R.J. Decker series captures even half of what Hiaasen put on paper, it's going to be a hit, especially with tournament anglers like me who recognize the characters. Because trust me, you've met some of them. Maybe not the hermit eating roadkill, but the over the top promoter, the shady sponsor, the guy who wants to win just a little too badly. Oh, they're out there. They're out there. And if you love bass fishing, if you've ever fished a tournament, if you appreciate sharp humor mixed with a little mystery, read the book. Then watch the show. And I'll make you a guarantee. If the series stays true to the spirit of the book, Double Whammy, anglers everywhere will be hooked. In fact, hook, line, and sinker. Thanks for listening today, folks. I really, truly hope you get a copy of the book. You know, I am such a big fan of Carl's, and I'm just so excited about this TV show coming out tonight. I can't wait to watch it. I hope you'll tune in as well. Thanks for watching.